In the heart of the vast savanna, there lived a lion named Leo. He wasn't the biggest or the strongest, but he possessed a gift no other creature could claim. He could see the future, not in grand, sweeping visions, but in small, fleeting glimpses of what was to come. He'd see a gazelle tripping on a hidden root, a storm gathering on the distant horizon, or a river bank about to crumble. At first, he thought it was just his imagination, but the visions always came true, with uncanny accuracy. One scorching afternoon, as the pride lounged under the shade of an acacia tree, Leo saw a flash of fire. He saw smoke billowing and panicked animals fleeing. He rushed to his brother, the pride leader, a mighty lion named Kale. "Brother," he panted, "I saw fire. It's coming from the east, carried by the wind. We must move the pride west now, before it's too late." Kale yawned, swatting a fly with his tail. "Fire, Leo? There isn't a cloud in the sky. Your mind is playing tricks on you again. Rest. The heat is making you delirious." The other lions chuckled, dismissing Leo's warning as another one of his strange fantasies. Dejected, Leo watched them doze, a knot of dread tightening in his stomach. He knew what he saw. The scent of smoke wasn't in the air yet, but he could almost feel the heat. What good was seeing the future if no one would listen? A few hours later, a faint smell of smoke drifted on the breeze. The lions stirred, sniffing the air with the knees. By the time they saw the orange glow on the horizon, it was nearly too late. A mad scramble ensued. They managed to escape, but the pride's best hunting grounds were reduced to ash. They were hungry, tired, and Kale shot Leo a look that was a mixture of anger and shame. He didn't apologize, but the respect in his eyes had flickered. For a moment, Leo felt a sliver of hope. Maybe now they would believe him. Maybe his gift could finally protect them instead of just isolating him. But he would soon learn that changing minds was harder than predicting the future itself. The pride was forced to find new territory. They were weak from hunger and the journey. One day, Leo had a vision of a watering hole, but it was surrounded by quicksand, hidden beneath a thin crust of dry mud. He saw a young cub, one of his own nieces, wander too close and get trapped. He immediately ran to Kale. "The watering hole ahead is a trap. There's quicksand. We must approach from the south, where the ground is solid." Kale, still sore from the fire, looked at Leo with suspicion. "Quicksand? It hasn't rained in weeks. You see danger in every shadow, Leo. Your fear is making you unreliable." The thirst of the pride was immense, and the sight of water made them reckless. They ignored Leo's desperate pleas and rushed forward. As Leo had foreseen, the young cub, drawn by the shimmering water, stepped onto the treacherous ground and began to sink. Panic erupted. The cub's mother cried out in terror. Kale and the others froze, unsure how to help without getting trapped themselves. But Leo had seen this moment. He had seen the one safe path, a narrow ridge of rock just beneath the surface. He sprang into action, guiding the frantic mother along the hidden path he had envisioned. Together, they managed to pull the terrified cub to safety. This time, there was no denying it. Leo had not just been right. He had saved a life. The pride looked at him differently. The whispers of crazy Leo faded, replaced by murmurs of awe and confusion. Kale approached him, his head bowed slightly. "How did you know?" he asked, his voice low. Leo simply replied, "I saw it." The weight of his gift felt a little lighter, But a new, more dangerous challenge was on the horizon, one that would test their newfound trust to its very limit. Would they follow him when the stakes were even higher? Weeks passed, and life settled into a new rhythm. The Pride began to rely on Leo's visions. He'd guide them to successful hunts, warn them of rival patrols, and help them avoid danger. He was no longer an outcast but a respected advisor. Kale, his brother, now sought his counsel before making any major decision. Leo finally felt like he belonged. He felt his gift was a blessing, not a curse. But comfort can be a dangerous thing. One morning, Leo had his most terrifying vision yet. He saw a massive stampede of wildebeest, a river of horns and hooves thundering directly through their new den, where the cubs were sleeping. And leading the stampede, driving them in a frenzy, were hyenas. A coordinated, malicious attack. This was no natural event. He ran to Kale, his heart pounding. Hyenas! They're planning an attack. They're going to drive a wildebeest stampede through the den while we are hunting. Kale's face hardened. Hyenas are scavengers, Leo, not strategists. They wouldn't dare. Another lion spoke up. We've never seen such a thing. A stampede is one thing, but one caused by hyenas, it's unbelievable. The Pride was skeptical. Their recent successes had made them confident, perhaps overconfident. They believed their strength was enough to handle any threat. Your visions have been small things, Leo, Kale said, trying to be gentle. A patch of bad ground, a lone rival. This is different. This is an army. It seems too fantastic to be true. Leo was horrified. After everything, were they still doubting him? When it mattered most, he knew he couldn't convince them with words alone. He had to show them. Knowing the hunt was planned for the afternoon, Leo had only hours. He couldn't force the Pride to believe, but he could prepare. He spent the morning working alone, frantically dragging fallen logs and thorny bushes to create a makeshift barrier at the narrow entrance to the valley that led to their den. The other lions watched him, confused. Some mocked his efforts, calling it a beaver's work, not a lion's. He ignored them, his muscles screaming in protest, driven by the horrifying clarity of his vision. He knew the barrier wouldn't stop the stampede, but he hoped it might slow it down, divert it just enough to give the cubs a chance. As the sun began to set, the hunting party, led by a reluctant Kale, moved out. Leo stayed behind, his eyes fixed on the horizon, his heart a drum of fear. Just as his vision foretold, a low rumble started in the distance. It grew into a deafening roar. The ground began to tremble, and then he saw them, a black wave of stampeding wildebeest, their eyes wide with terror, and flanking them, nipping at their heels, were the laughing, shrieking forms of dozens of hyenas. The Pride, on their hunt, heard the sound and turned, their faces a mask of disbelief and horror. They were too far away to help. The stampede was heading directly for the den, directly for the cubs. Leo stood his ground before his pathetic wall of thorns and logs, the only thing standing between the crushing tide and the future of his Pride. This was the moment. His gift had led him here. Could his foresight and a desperate plan be enough to defy a future that was already written? The sea of panicked bodies crashed into Leo's barricade. Wood splintered and thorns flew, but it held for a precious few seconds. The front wave of wildebeest stumbled, diverting slightly, creating a tiny channel of chaos away from the den's main entrance. It wasn't much, but it was enough. The bulk of the stampede thundered past, shaking the very rocks, but the dens and the cubs inside were spared the direct impact. When the dust settled, the savannah was scarred and silent. The pride returned, expecting the worst, only to find the cubs safe, huddled and trembling, but alive. They saw the destroyed barricade, and they saw Leo, battered and exhausted, but standing guard. There were no more doubts. Kill walked to his brother and nuzzled him, a gesture of profound respect and apology. You saved us all, Leo, he rumbled, his voice thick with emotion. Your sight is not a curse. It is the greatest strength of this pride. From that day on, Leo was not just a lion who could see the future. He was their leader, their protector, their seer. His visions were no longer his burden to carry alone, but a gift to be shared. He learned that seeing the future was only half the battle. The other half was inspiring belief, and sometimes that required not just words, but an unwavering act of courage. And so the legend of Leo the lion who saw what was to come was whispered across the savannah for generations, a story of a different kind of strength, the strength of seeing what others could not and having the courage to act on it even when you stand alone. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments what you think about Leo's journey. We'll see you in the next one.